Hi everybody, welcome back to the Totebag Podcast, hosted by me, Vibha. Whatever you're doing right now, I hope you can put in some headphones or grab a speaker and get comfy and listen along. Thank you so much for joining. Today I'm so excited because I have my first guest with me. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Madelynn Garrett. I'm a junior at East, and me and Vibha have been friends for a really long time, so I'm really excited about this.
We go way back.
We go way back.
No, but we really started getting to know each other more after being a part of the Youth Ambassadors thing this summer.
Yeah.
So I think that was really, and you do newspaper now.
Yes, of course.
And
yeah,
you
that
write,
too.
guys, she writes, and she's really good. She's written a lot of stories so far, so you've probably seen her everywhere.
Oh my goodness.
How are you liking newspaper so far?
I'm loving it. It's such not only is it so fun to be able to get to write and be a part of something like that, but the environment is just so welcoming and positive that it has become one of my favorite classes.
That's awesome. Okay, I'm really excited to have you on today because I feel like the things that we have discussions about are I feel like they'd be really interesting for other people to listen to. So this is honestly just going to be us having a conversation.
Right.
People listening. So, okay, for starters, I just want to talk about how you and I have been discussing journaling and self-love and self-care a lot more. And you've been getting into that. So how has that been?
It's been really exciting. I've always been one that wants to expand my self-love journey, and I want to get to the point where I do feel like I love myself, and I never really had the steps or really knew what to do that. And through talking to you and getting close in our conversations and learning about journalism and getting a journal of my own and actually watching TED Talks and starting to do that, I feel like I put myself in position to be one step closer to that self-love journey.
Yeah, definitely. And do you feel like it's also just let you have the ability to get to know yourself more?
Yeah, and it's a good little self-care tactic just to sit down and journal and be with myself and really get to understand myself through that.
Yeah, that's so nice. So we had a little journaling date last week at the park. So what are other small things that you feel you do that make you feel more connected with yourself or just enjoy your own company?
Really just taking the time to put yourself first is so important, even if it's just a small walk or 25 minutes where you just don't touch your phone and you just think to yourself. Or I make myself little self-diary videos talking to myself about things I want to accomplish and goals that I have for myself. Just really putting yourself first in every moment that you can.
Definitely. And we also talked about this kind of goes into it, the difference between being alone versus lonely. And how do you feel from what you've gathered from journaling and doing more things for yourself, what do you feel you've understood more about the difference?
I have always been someone who's scared of being alone. I will force myself to go to social events, force myself to go to football games, which I hate doing.
Does anyone even really like
Exactly. In order to feel social and feel I'm not lonely, because I have such a fear of being alone. And through this journey of starting to take baby steps to better myself, I've become content with being alone. And even just little things I've come to understand that being alone is vital, and everyone needs their alone time, and it honestly can shape your perception so much about stuff if you just take the time to be alone and really understand the world from your own perspective in your mind.
I definitely agree. And I think a big part of it is also just FOMO, feeling you're never gonna be as socially satisfied because everyone else is always doing something.
And once you learn that you don't need to depend on that FOMO anymore, it can be such a freeing thing, because everyone gets FOMO every once in a while and feels left out or feels they're not doing enough. But if you're content with yourself and content with what you're doing, it honestly takes that FOMO away.
Yeah, and I feel you even mentioned this, it makes hanging out with people that much more
exciting. Yeah, because you are alone and you have your alone time, and so then when you see them, it's a reward almost, and then you go back to your alone time, and that's a reward because you just feel so content that you get the time to yourself, but then you also have the balance of being able to see the people you love.
Yeah, exactly. And okay, also I thought it was interesting how you told me that you really value romanticizing your life and everything that you do. So tell me more about that and how you do that and how it makes you feel.
I think it is so important to romanticize every aspect of your life. Even if you just romanticize things like taking a shower.
Yeah, taking
I went through such a bad mental period where it was so hard for me to shower. So now when I do it multiple times a week, every time a day, I pride myself and I give myself a big high five, because that was something that was so hard for me when I was struggling so bad mentally.
Yeah,
and just romanticizing
small victories.
Right. Right, and then just romanticizing everything you do, like going to get a coffee and going for a walk and just thinking that you're like this amazing little Pinterest girl in your small town. Like having that mindset can make everything around you just turn bright. And I feel like I've lived so long in a world that seems so gray, and just by romanticizing that and getting out, it's honestly just brightened it and changed my perception as well. Like perception is so important, and like the way that you view things can just change the way that your life is. And instead of viewing something as like, oh, like I live in this boring small town where there's nothing to do, I just think of it as like, wow, I'm literally just sitting by myself in a dreamy park drinking an iced latte and journaling. Like, what is better than this?
Yeah.
And just by kind of just changing the way that you view small situations in your day-to-day life can make the biggest change or make the biggest difference.
I know. I was literally going to say, how do you feel like romanticizing your life is more than just like an aesthetic thing and a mindset? And you literally just what do you think is the biggest thing that you've learned about like life in general, about yourself, that you feel like has been really helpful?
That is a loaded question. I think that I've just learned to take it slow, and I'm one that just dwells on the negative, if I'm being honest, and I think it is important to just take it slow and take baby steps. And I'm not where I want to be fully, but by taking those baby steps and just journaling once a week, or like journaling when I can, watching a TED Talk, or just taking those 25 minutes to just not do anything or not feed into social media, just doing those small things can make such a big difference. And so what I've really taken away from it is that I just need to be proud of myself for the small things and know that it's taking me towards a big part or a big step in my self-love journey. And also, like, we just ended the first quarter, so reflecting on that, I didn't have a very good 9 weeks. And so I was like, past me would be so down on myself for that. But like the way I look at it now is like, that's only 9 weeks of my life. 9 weeks of a period where I was struggling so deeply, but that doesn't define my entire journey this year. It doesn't define my entire year. It just defines the 9-week period where my mental health was just not doing well.
Definitely. And do you feel like being more connected with yourself has allowed you to like progress more in your relationships and your friendships, and you know?
Oh, 100%. I think being secure in myself and knowing what I can handle and what I can't handle has made it so much easier to step up to the plate to help myself out.
Definitely. And I think a big part of that also is just like when you feel so crowded by your insecurities, those like come to play in every aspect of your life, and so you just like never feel like you measure up, whether it's like in like school or with like other people, you know?
Exactly. And when you make your mind a negative place, it's so clouded with judgment from yourself and the negative self-talk, it's going to be so hard to make your environment not that. And I think just by taking the moment to just do daily affirmations or say your positive self-talk, you can honestly make that so much better. And then it also makes your environment better, because as I've been growing myself and growing that positivity within myself, the only thing I seek is positive relationships. Whereas past me was so insecure and so deep in those insecurities that I almost needed or felt comfortable in a negative environment because it's all I knew.
Yeah, exactly. And okay, I'm like curious, if you could tell your past self like one thing that you know now, like what would you tell her?
I would tell her to just slow down and to stop thinking that everything is always going to be bad, that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And I know it's so cliche to be like that, but it's true. And I just feel like I would tell myself, like, stop dwelling on things that don't matter. It's not going to matter in 5 years. And to stop being so negative. I struggle a lot with being so negative to myself and like the negative self-talk. And I would just tell my past self to just get out of that habit and like to start loving yourself, because it's so important, and it has changed everything so much ever since I've started doing that.
Yeah, and I think it's honestly just like the small things, and I feel part of it is just like when you're so used to like thinking negatively of yourself, it becomes routine, and so you don't really know, or at least realize that there's a possibility that you can be kind to yourself, or that you're worthy of kindness, which I think comes to play in like, you know, putting yourself in negative relationships or negative environments, because that's like you settle because
it becomes habit.
Yeah, exactly. And if you could tell your future self one thing, what would you tell her?
I would tell her to keep going. And again, with the cliches, the sky is the limit. I have proven to myself that I can do anything. And like, I have such a big drive to just be successful, and I'm going to be successful. And I would just tell her that, yeah, there's going to be moments where we're going to fall. There's going to be moments we're going to go right back into the depressive episodes, right back into the negative self-talk, but it's not a forever thing, and I can easily motivate myself to get out of it. And I think it's so important to just set myself up to motivate to motivate myself to get out of it.
And I feel like you're honestly just such a driven person. I feel like you have really big goals, so I feel like that's it. Like, it doesn't surprise me that that's like something that you care a lot about.
Right, and I do have big goals, and sometimes my goals I feel like are so out of reach. But the thing is like, failure is inevitable. Everyone fails. And so if I do fail, all I have to do is make new goals, make easier goals, make baby steps to get to those goals. I just think it's so important not to like stop at the first failure, because I have gone through a journey in life, and there's been so many things that haven't gone my way, and my first instinct is to pout and cry and say, why me? But the thing is, I have to get up and I have to do better, and I have to expand my perception and just get out and take it on, because no one is going to help me but me.
Yeah, definitely. And I also think it's like sometimes often in those like biggest failures is where you like find your triumph moments,
exactly, yeah. Like just little things that you're thinking are so bad then. Like maybe it's a breakup or a friendship that just ended out of nowhere. They seem like the end of the world, or feel like you're never going to get over it, but they lead you to new experiences. They lead you to new people that you get to meet and new people you get to love. And it just, every little moment, though in the moment it seems like just the worst things ever happened to you, it can actually be setting you on track for the best thing that's ever happened to you.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like even like just talking about shifting your mindset, like something I've been telling myself more recently is that like everything is rigged in my favor. Like even when something, like I saw this girl just be like, if you get a flat tire or something, it probably is because like if you kept driving you would have been in an accident. You know what I'm saying? So like there's like a marginal amount of like what you're gaining for what you're losing. Yeah.
That's actually such a good thing to think about.
I know, yeah.
Like that is, it really just puts so much into thought. Like
I honestly think that helps. Like if you just think that everything in life is set to work up for you, like I feel like because so much of us just think like I have the worst luck, or like nothing works out for me, and then like that just becomes your reality because you just like manifest your thoughts.
I've never thought about that, but that's so cool. It's like those stories where you see like, oh, if she would have turned left here, she would have got an accident, but she turned right. Like that's just kind of how that is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing.
Okay, so as we wrap this up, Maddie, I just want to like talk about you. Like, what are some things about yourself that you wish more people knew, that you feel like you've learned through all of these combined techniques of self-care?
I try so hard to be a positive person that everyone can be around, and sometimes I just have a very like bubbly like personality where I feel like sometimes it can be almost like in your face.
Really? I don't think that. I feel like you just have like good energy.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just like always like on the go, like always have energy, like always in everyone's face. But I've always struggled with feeling like I am just giving more than other people are giving. But like with that, I've also taught myself that like your love for yourself is the most important. And I think if someone was like trying to get to know me, what I would tell them is that I just always try to see a positive outlook. But at the same time, I'm like the most emotional person I've ever met. So sometimes that's hard. But like in order to keep a positive outlook all the time, you just have to put yourself in the position to always accept the failure and grow it further into a successful event.
Exactly, yeah. And I think I was watching a clip from the Red Table Talk with Willow Smith and her family, and Jada Pinkett Smith was like, the way you love yourself is how you show
that you love others. Exactly. Love you. So if you're being so negative to yourself, and that's all they're going to think to do is be negative to you. And I'm not a perfect person, and I definitely am not where I want to be. I play the good role of like, oh, I'm doing so well, but like this past 9 weeks with school, I struggled severely. Like it was terrible. There was days that I wasn't getting out of bed. My attendance was lacking. But the thing is that only shows the mental health that I was struggling with. It doesn't show my compassion. It doesn't show my strive to be greater, to do greater. And I have so much drive, like you said, and I have so much passion for getting better and being better that I know that rough patch was only setting me up for this future path where I'm just going to get on it and expand my mental health and do so much better with it.
Exactly. And I think it's also just like a thing of like understanding what defines you. Like,
exactly.
You know, so yeah.
And what you let define you. Like you don't realize how much control you have over yourself. And there was days that I would wake up and I would just be like, okay, I'm going to be in a bad mood today. Like I'm not going to talk to anyone.
No, because I literally do that too.
Yeah.
Like self-sabotage.
Like because I want them to ask me what's wrong.
Because I've done that too.
Exactly.
I used to do that so much.
Yeah, and you're like, I want them to ask me what's wrong, so I'm going to be quiet. But no, I wake up every day, and you know, I woke up the other day and I was just not feeling good. I just didn't feel very pretty that day. I was like, oh, like I just feel gross, like my face feels gross. And I was like, you know what? Like I'm not doing this today. I washed my face, I straightened my hair, I put some chapstick on, like just a little thing like that, and I went to school. people, and I talk to people. And I started a thing in my private story on Snapchat where I hug people every day.
Yeah.
And so I just started hugging people, and I just started like doing little things, and like I stopped telling myself like, oh, you look ugly today, and I was like, you know what, like you put on a really good outfit today. Like I'm really proud of you that you actually got up and took the chance to put jeans on today.
I know,
like just little things like that. And if you just say those little things to yourself, it makes such a difference you don't even understand.
No, literally, because at the beginning of like sophomore year, like before COVID, I would literally wear my pajamas to school, like straight up, like I wore.
And sometimes that's needed though.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. But like I would just like, because that's like, again, I feel like I had that whole like complex that like, oh, I'm a tired girl going to high school.
Yeah.
Like let me just wear pajamas. And I literally wore like my slippers one day. And then like once we came back, like I did my whole junior year online, obviously. And then like once this year started, like starting in September, because I went to New York this summer, which was like the coolest thing ever. But what I loved so much about being there was that I just feel like there's this energy where everyone like just cares about their life and what they're doing, and they dress so nice and they work hard and whatnot. And like when I came back, I was like, I'm gonna keep this mindset with me instead of just like, because I feel like you and I like both have that same vibe where like small town doesn't really excite us as much as maybe a
big city would.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like everyone here that lives in this small town, they think, oh, I have to just exist here. There's no way I can live here. Like that little saying, like, are you living or just existing?
Yeah,
they think that you can only exist within Columbus, but that just goes back to romanticizing everything. You can live. I can go on a walk and see like these beautiful, like just walking downtown, like where we're sitting right now, and like seeing all the architecture. Like how cool is that you get to see that every day?
I know.
And you just get to walk past it and take little pictures and wear your cute outfit and drink your coffee by the big architecture. Like
no, I totally
just
agree.
romanticizing every little thing can make you go from just existing to living. And I have gone through like sophomore year, I just felt like I existed the whole time and like didn't live, and this year I'm just trying so hard to get out of that.
Yeah, definitely. And even when we went to the park that day, it like felt, it was so like just doing small things, and like obviously as we both know, I'm obsessed with Gilmore Girls right now. So everywhere I go, it feels like stars hollow to me. Especially in the fall time, I feel like Columbus is such a cute place to romanticize. But also like I feel like the more I pay attention, like I was driving around the other day and I got lost and I was like, this building looks so cool and I've never seen it before. You know, like just small things like being a tourist in your own city, quote unquote.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, something else that I like thought to ask whenever we were talking about this, but I forgot about, was how, like you were saying, how this first 9 weeks like obviously wasn't the best for you. But I think like something that you did that I thought was like helpful to me was that you always share like affirmations on your Instagram story.
Yeah.
And do you feel like you just share those because you want to help other people, or do they honestly like help you too?
They resonate to me.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I want to give back and help that resonate to other people. And I think it's just so important to tell your people that you're proud of them and tell them that you love them. And I feel like that's a cute little way for me to do that. And then at the same time, like sometimes I just need to hear it. And if I put it on my private, or if I put it on my story, my private story, and I go back and I watch it, like I hear it and I see it.
Yeah.
And it just really like hits me, and like I'm just like, wow, like this is so important.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much, Maddie, for being on my podcast. Of course. I'm so happy that you're the first person on
I was so excited when you asked me to be the first person. Like, I wanted to cry.
Really?
Yes.
Oh
I've been talking about it for days.
No, I just feel like we talked about this, though. We're like friends, soulmates. Like, we're
the
same,
soulmates.
like the same person, but different font.
Yes.
So I just felt like it was only appropriate, because I feel like we should have another one where we just talk about like.
Oh, of course. I was
like
so
a
down.
bunch of random stuff, like no topic or anything, just like talk.
And if I could give one main message at the end.
And I was like, let me have my TED Talk moment. If I could just give one.
If I could give one thing. If I could just leave the people watching this, watch it through with one thing, it would just be to like change your perception. Perception is everything. And the way that you do the inner workings of your mind, once you make the inner workings of you positive, then everything around you gets positive. And if you eliminate all the negatives and you eliminate that negative perception, you are going to see colors in your life. Like you're just going to see everything flow into how you want it to be. And again, I'm not there yet, but I'm one step closer, and I have never been happier than I am right now with putting myself in the position to be that. Just like journaling, walking, taking away the screen time, talking to people I would never talk to, like doing little things like that has made me so happy, and like it's only up from here.